My manager told me in front of the entire team that I was being demoted because women get too emotional for leadership roles. I thanked him professionally and started packing my desk. The CEO's phone call 20 minutes later changed his tone completely. I'm Rebecca, 32, and I've been Senior Director of Engineering at TechVision Solutions for 6 years. Last Tuesday, my manager Derek called an emergency team meeting at 3 p.m. The whole department was there, 47 people in the conference room. Derek stood at the front looking way too pleased with himself. Effective immediately, Rebecca is being demoted to Senior Developer. Mark will be taking over as Director. My stomach dropped. Mark had been there 18 months, couldn't code his way out of a paper bag, but he was Derek's golf buddy. This decision comes from careful consideration, Derek continued, smirking at me. Women get too emotional for leadership roles. Rebecca's been too sensitive about project deadlines. We need someone who can handle pressure without crying. I hadn't cried once in 6 years. Not when we lost the Johnson account, not during COVID layoffs, not ever. But I knew what this was really about. Last month, I'd rejected Derek's proposal to cut our QA team, and I'd been right. We caught a critical bug that would have cost us $2 million. He'd been furious. I went over his head to the VP. The room went silent. My team looked horrified. Sarah, my lead developer, started to stand up, but I shook my head. Thank you for letting me know, I said calmly. I'll start transitioning my projects to Mark immediately. I walked to my office and opened my laptop, but instead of transitioning projects, I did something else. See, 3 months ago, I'd started documenting everything. Every inappropriate comment, every time he took credit for my work, every instance of him undermining female employees. I had emails, Slack messages, meeting recordings, performance reviews, everything. I also had something Derek didn't know about. The CEO, Patricia Chen, was my mentor. We'd met at a Women in Tech conference 5 years ago, and she'd personally recruited me to TechVision. We had coffee monthly to discuss my career. She'd been in Tokyo for 3 weeks, which is probably why Derek thought he could pull this. I opened my personal email and wrote to Patricia. Patricia, Derek demoted me today, citing that women are too emotional for leadership. I have documentation. I thought you should know what's happening in your company. I attached a 47-page document with timestamps, witnesses, and policy violations. Sent at 3:23 p.m. Then I started packing. Photos, awards, my Stanford diploma. Calm, methodical, professional. At 3:41 p.m., Derek's phone rang. I could hear him through the walls. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Patricia. I understand, but his voice got higher. It was performance-based. No, I didn't document. Pause. Yes, I said that, but I smiled and kept packing. At 3:47 p.m., Derek burst into my office, face red, sweating. Rebecca, there's been a misunderstanding. I was joking about the emotional comment. The team knew I was kidding. Really? Because 47 people heard you and none of them laughed. Look, I'm reinstating you immediately. Full authority restored. We forget this happened. I stood up. That's interesting, because Patricia just offered me VP of Engineering, your boss's job. They've been restructuring for months, and your performance today accelerated the timeline. His face went white. You can't, I can. Oh, and Patricia mentioned HR wants to discuss your employment. Something about hostile work environment and policy violations. My phone buzzed. Patricia, board approved your VP promotion. Derek's terminated effective immediately. Security escorting him out in 10 minutes. I looked at Derek. You were right about one thing. This role requires someone who can handle pressure without getting emotional. That's why I'm promoted and you're fired. Security arrived at 4:02 p.m. Derek left with his coffee mug and shattered ego. I unpacked, moved into the VP office by 5:30, sent a company-wide email announcing my promotion. Mark came by the next morning. I didn't know he'd say that. I shouldn't have accepted. I know. That's why you're staying as senior developer. You're good at what you do. Sarah brought champagne. The whole team celebrated. Turns out when you document everything and stay calm, the emotional ones lose and the professional ones win.